You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. This is your host, Cuckoo. Glad to have you listening to us. Before we get into today's show, I just wanted to thank every one of you who liked, shared, and commented on our last podcast, the Black Empowerment movie review of War for the Planet of the Apes. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that video. We've gotten a lot of views, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to what we have to say. Some of you agreed. Some of you, I'm sure, have disagreed or will disagree. And that's fine too. But we welcome all interaction. So, today's show. Why are we here today? Today's show I want to talk about a phenomenon I've been observing in the Black community for a while now. And this phenomenon is called low energy individuals. What is a low energy person? Someone with bland sensibilities, or boring, unmotivated, unexciting, just existing in a way that doesn't positively motivate anyone around them. That's a low energy person. And I know when I said that, I'm sure a lot of you envisioned someone or some people who fit that bill, who are low energy people. And if you didn't, then perhaps you are the low energy individual. So, why is this important? Well, for starters, low energy people tend to attract other low energy people. And if you're not careful, you're going to have communities of largely low energy people. Right? But before I even get any further into that, let's talk about what it is to be a low energy person by talking also about its comparison. What it is to be a high energy person. Well, a high energy person is a person who's motivational, inspirational, assertive, fun, exciting, and charismatic. And the thing about these types of energies, like I said before, is like energies tend to attract like energies. Now, to be clear, a low energy person, we're not talking about introverted people, we're not talking about shy people, we're talking about your average person who's supposedly well adjusted, who is just unmotivated, doesn't step out of the box, doesn't do anything, has very little interest except the same mundane things over and over and over every day. Those are low energy people. The reason why it's important to discuss this and to identify the low energy people and the low energy in the Black community is because, as I said before, people prefer to interact with high energy people, be it in relationships, dating, friendships, and even in business. Let me repeat that again. People prefer to interact with high energy people. This is across race, boundaries, whatever. People prefer to interact with high energy people, be it in relationships, dating, friendship, and even business. So, saying that people attract what they like, people attract what they want to be, we in the Black community need to improve our energy as a group. The reason I bring this up is, there's a myriad of reasons why I bring this up, but I've noticed how exhausting it is personally. And this is not a complaint, this is just an observation. How exhausting it is to endeavor in the way that I've been trying to empower and preach black empowerment, to encourage black voices, black people, to find their voices and to express their opinions on different forums and in different formats. I've been trying my hardest to get people to blog on the Bitter Medicine blog site, www.bittermedicineblogs.com. I've been trying my hardest to get folks on the Bitter Medicine Show Facebook page to interact, to bring topics, to have discussions in a place that's troll-free, that's always monitored, where the admins are always responsive. And it's so difficult, but I do thank the few of you who do. But it's really difficult, it's really exhausting. KWAZ Radio, which this show is a part of, has been trying for a while now to launch certain shows, to get black folks who are on Facebook all day, talking about black empowerment and hotepping and arguing about black views and opinions. We've been reaching out to those same people, and none of them will take the step to say, okay, instead of me just talking and preaching to the choir, let me see what KWAZ Radio is about. Let me see what the Bitter Medicine Podcast is about. Let's get involved. Let's blog. Let's write. Let's allow our voices to get out there, and maybe we can inspire people better that way, as opposed to arguing the same stuff over and over on these Facebook groups. When you do that kind of stuff, and even I have been guilty of it somewhat in the past, you're being a low-energy individual. You're not really, you're not doing anything that is really motivational, that's inspirational. And so today's show is very important to that end, and having people understand who they are, what frequency they vibrate on, and in turn, in hopes to improve the situation. It's also important because if you're low energy, you're going to beget more low energy. And frankly, we have enough of that in the black community. And by the way, you know who else is low energy individuals? The naysayers. There's a lot of naysaying going on in the black community. And to be clear, every community has their naysayers and their low energy people. Let's be very clear about this. But it just seems that in the black community it's twice as bad. When you look at the projects, the ghettos, the people who inhabit those types of spaces, most of those folks are low energy people. I mean, you literally can go. I encountered this in America, and it's amazing. You can literally see in certain projects, certain ghettos, certain areas of poverty, people have been in those situations for generations. Their grandmother was there, their mother them was there, they're there, their children are there. It's ridiculous. And it's because no one ever said, you know what? We need to vibrate at a higher frequency than what we've been vibrating at. Our communities are suffering and our children are suffering heavy from it. I've been doing some research lately because we're going to have a show coming up soon where we discuss the school to prison pipeline. And one of the things my research has shown, and and I'm going to have someone who has more knowledge about it than I do, but my preliminary research has shown that one of the problems is when these kids who are in problems in schools where they call the authorities in, schools that kick them out for their behavior, etc., the underlying commonality of those students, of those kids, is that they come from environments that are low energy environments. There's no one around them really who's challenging the system, who's challenging the box that they've been put in, who's doing something fresh, who's doing something new. And so these kids come up and they act out in school. And of course, the school is set up in such a way that it's wholeheartedly prepared to push them out and to push them down into a life that's going to lead them into the prisons, these for-profit prisons, for certain folks to make money off of them. So we've got to do better. And to further be clear, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, whatever professional you want to be. You too can be a low energy person. And you can come from low energy people. In fact, I wager to say that a lot of black folks who you see are doctors, lawyers, engineers, etc., they were pushed into that from their parents. Because their parents and the people before them were uninspired people who didn't see value in anything else except those types of fields. And so you did what you had to do. You studied hard. You got into a med school. You got into engineering school, law school, etc. And you became those things. But now what are you doing with it? You're still boring. You're still unmotivated. You carry around a negative energy. You don't care much for your own people, so you went to those professional schools really to help non-blacks, because you're not giving it back to your people who also suffer from the similar low energy. So we really got to fix these things in the black community. And before you could fix anything, you have to be able to diagnose the problem. So how do you tell if you have low energy, if you suffer from low energy? Well, if you're waiting for others to take the lead, you're suffering from low energy. If you have people around you who are bored people around you all the time, you're suffering from low energy. If you use negative tactics, shaming people, making people feel sorry for you, this, that, and the other, if you're using negative tactics to get your way, you're a low energy person. If the people you call friends relegate you to the second, third, fourth choice to carry out any kind of mission, you're a low energy person. Because if you were a high energy person, you'll be the first person they call, the first person they go to get some shit done or to do something. But if you're down on the list, you're a low energy individual. And lastly, and not that this is everything in life, but if you're largely unpopular, you're a low energy person. So once you take those things into consideration, you really answer truthfully to those questions about your own self. And as a matter of fact, you could apply those questions not just to an individual, but to a community. And if you answer yes to any of those, you're a low energy person. And you need to fix the You need to fix it. You need to course correct and change that about yourself. We need to course correct and change that about our community. We're not the only community that has low energy people, but like I said, it seems like we have twice the low energy individuals than other communities. So we got to get these things together. Before we could fight any system of white supremacy, any of that stuff, we have things that we could do. And by the way, although white supremacy and the history of oppression does create some of that low energy, lack of resources, etc., there are certain things I need black folks to realize that we can be exceptional. We can strive for black excellence within ourselves. There are things we can do on our own that makes us go from a low frequency people to a high frequency people. And we have the motivation for why we would want to do that. As I mentioned before, what's at stake are our relationships, our dating, our friendships, and our business. And right now, over the last few years, with all that's been going on in society, with the killing of unarmed men and protesting and killing of unarmed women and this, that, and the other, and the abuse of our children, we always talk about, we have to buy black and black economics. But if we're low energy people, we can't even do business well. We always talk about having more positive relationships between black men and black women. Well, if we're low energy people, that's not going to work either. So we really need to address these things. And I soul searched myself and I asked, what are some tips that we can do as individuals? And if every individual does it, then the community essentially does it. The first tip I came up with was we have to steer clear of negativity. We really got to stay clear of negativity. Sorry. Remove yourself from the home, the block, and find you a more positive existence to remain in. If your friends are negative influences and they're trying to get you to do dumb shit, remove them from your existence. My father told me a long time ago something very interesting. When I was in college, in undergrad, he said something to me that was very interesting. He said, if you go to a library and sit there, eventually you're going to do some studying. And I live to see the truth in that. If you want to be something, you got to put yourself in a position to be that thing. You want to be a high energy person? Remove yourself or remove the negative influences from your life. To that end, get yourself involved with more positive people and activities. If you find yourself always around the same folks, doing the same shit, where you could set your clock by it, get out of it. I'm not here to shit on people who sit around and smoke weed or play video games and this, that, and the other. But if that's all you're doing, and that's all you've been doing for some time, if you really want to be a better person, a better black person, you got to remove yourself from those folks who are just content in doing those same things every day. Look, if you're not learning something and or getting money, then it doesn't make sense. Let me say this again, because sometimes people need to make certain things their motivation. If you're not getting more knowledge, getting more money, it doesn't make sense to continue doing it. If you're just around people and all y'all doing is playing video games and smoking weed, and you're spending money, you're giving away money, and more importantly, you're giving away your time. You got to remove yourself and find where there's positive people doing positive things. That could be blogging, that could be podcasting, because it doesn't mean that you have to go and spend extravagant amounts of money. It doesn't mean you have to travel far out of your neighborhood or wherever. But we all know how to judge when something is more positive, that's more uplifting, that edifies your spirit more. Take yourself and go do that stuff. Do less of what you've been doing before and more of something that you've never done before. This is a big problem with the black community. We tend to do the same shit the generation before us did. And as parents, we tend to allow our kids to do the same shit we did. We're supposed to always be pushing against the constraints. Always be pushing against the constraints. I've mentioned blogging, I've mentioned vlogging, I've mentioned podcasting. What am I getting at? Take up a hobby. Find some type of skill. And this is for the men, this is especially for women, this is for everyone. Find some type of passion. You may learn that you like to read, and you like to read sci-fi, and that may turn into, I like to write. I like to write about sci-fi. I like to think about these things. And maybe if you can't do it, maybe you will find someone else who could do the things that you can't do, but you have all these ideas because you stepped out of your confines and tried to find other people with passion. Like right now in my life, after going to college and all this kind of stuff, I decided that I needed to step out of the drudgery of academia. So I podcast, I try to blog. Right now I'm writing a script for a comic book, and I'm thinking about doing a short weekly comic strip. I'm trying to do things that aren't the norm for us. And the last tip I have is we gotta start taking more risk and stop being so comfortable in what we know. We gotta be more adventurous. I can assure you, if a white guy or girl goes to their people and say, "Hey, I have this website trying to blog about white power," they're gonna get their friends involved. Their friends will join up. Like, people will be like, "Yeah, dude, I'm down. What do I have to do?" These things like Reddit and 4chan come from those type of discussions. And from it, they get people with a high energy It might be on some racist shit or whatever, but they get high energy people to join in, and these things become successful. You look at the Huffington Post. High energy people decided to get in there. And something I heard Charlemagne the God say, I'm going to shout him out here. I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at BitterMeds, BITTERMEDZ. I shouted him out a few weeks for saying something that's so true. Learn to recognize an opportunity where there's no paycheck attached. Let me say that again. Learn, black people, learn to recognize opportunities when there is no paycheck attached. We have become a people that if you're not talking about some type of check, how much you're going to get paid, our people have no interest in doing it. This thing that I'm doing right now, this podcasting, I'm pretty sure some white boys came up with this. And they've found a way over time to monetize these kinds of behaviors. So when you see certain YouTubers and all that kind of stuff, big followings, a lot of subscribers, and all this kind of stuff, they were adventurous 10 to 13 years ago when podcasting really started up. They were the ones who were adventurous and learned the do's, the don'ts, what works, what doesn't. They did that. And now it's a thing for them. And you don't see many black folks doing this kind of stuff because, again, a lot of us come from naysayers and people with low energy. But if you heard no other tip that I shared today, please hear this one. Take more risk. Be more adventurous. The truth of the matter is, when you lack excitement, you lack energy, that's going to keep you from being successful. And if we're trying to eliminate the chains of oppression from white power, for us to be victorious, for us to be successful, we have to have a high level of exuberance, excitement, and we have to have a high level of energy. Once you rid yourself of low energy, once we rid ourselves as a collective from low energy, we'll be able to overcome the circumstances that we're in right now. And it's important that we do it now so that we don't have children who are born into low energy and only carry out low energy activities. Because trust me, it's the low energy activities that aid a lot of our oppression. I know the oppression causes it, but the low energy builds it right back up. Gives it stronger legs to stand on, and makes it harder for us, those of us who are out here in the struggle, who our heads are not in the bubble, we're actually out here trying to make some change. It makes it very hard for us, makes it very tiring, and I kind of understand why some people give up. And this is what leads to the sellouts and the coons. Because you can't do business with low energy people. But if you change your message, like some popular YouTubers, I won't mention who, but black guys who sit up telling white people, if you see black people, shoot them. Keep shooting. No, that's not cool. But if you're trying to do business, you're trying to make money out here, some of these guys have no scruples, no principles. They become sellouts. So I didn't mean to be too preachy here today. I was really trying to be more so motivational, encouraging, helpful. And inspiring. I'm trying to be high energy for you. Bill Cosby got a lot of flack for this some years ago, and I'm a fan of Bill Cosby's comedy. I'm a fan of who he is. But a lot of black folks turned their back on Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby, everything he said was true. Pull your pants up, speak properly, and you're not doing this for white folks, you're doing it for your own people, because that kind of energy will inspire others to be the same way. Every time someone's killed by the police or what have you, what do we know that's going to happen? They're going to break into some place, steal some shit. Fellas running with TVs, something's going to burn. Rinse, repeat the next time something goes down. That's low energy behavior. We then going to protest. At the protest, you're going to have some women twerking. You're going to have some dudes trying to sell their mixtape CD. Someone's going to be breakdancing. That's low energy behavior. High energy behavior would be something more motivational, something more tangible, something like what Dr. Martin Luther King did during civil rights, where they forced people to have to pass a civil rights bill because MLK then was removing themselves from the economy. And those white boys were suffering business-wise. And that's why integration came about, because that wasn't for black people, that was for white people. White people recognize that if we don't let them in a little bit, we won't make the kind of money we could make. And unfortunately, a byproduct of that has been blacks now spend all their money with white folks, which, to be honest with you, that's low energy bullshit. That's bad business. That's bad relationships. That's bad for your dating life. If you're spending all your money with people who don't care about you, that's low energy stuff. So we have to step out of it. We got to step out of it as a people. As I said, every group has them, but we're the most oppressed group, historically and currently. And so we have to be twice as vigilant in our efforts. Before I go, I just want to say thank you again for the support you guys have given us. Please check out our social media pages. Please interact with us more. We love a good discussion. Be it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, on our website. We would like to hear from you. Let's bring our energies up as a collective. And let's do better things, man. As always, it's a joy to speak to the family. And I hope to speak to you again soon. Until next time, This has been the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.